today we're going to move on and to our next speaker. And our next speaker, I've known him since I've been clean. He's been a cornerstone in our recovery community on my chosen pathway. And I was, he practices multiple pathways as well. And he agreed today to speak to us on Cocaine Anonymous. There's always been CA meetings around here, and I haven't participated as much, but I have been to a few, and I love the people who are in them, and I just think it's great that he's been willing to share his time with us. So with that, I'm going to give you Michael.
Good afternoon, Michael. Good afternoon, LaTonya. This is Michael. I'm in the 12-step recovery process. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yes, we hear you.
Can y'all see me? Can y'all see me?
Yeah.
Okay. Basically, I want to thank the Tree of Hope. I want to thank you, LaTonya, for asking me to share my experience, strength, and hope. It's truly a blessing. I missed the first half of this process because I had to attend the funeral this morning. My middle daughter, Shannon, fiance, was killed in a motorcycle accident on Labor Day. Actually on Labor Day. And you never want to get a call at 4 o'clock in the morning as a parent. And when we got that call Tuesday morning, I heard my wife trying to calm her down. And of course, you can imagine what my went through. Which daughter was it? What's going on? Is it my oldest son? And I just kept hearing her say, Shannon, calm down, calm down, calm down. Tell me what happened. And then she finally told us that Ray was killed in a motorcycle accident Labor Day. And the funeral, the homecoming, the celebration was this morning. And I'm just glad that I was able to be there to support her through her time of mourning. I had to go into deep prayer and meditation through this process of this week, wondering whether or not I was going to be able to keep this commitment. I found myself coming back to the point that due to my preconditions and along with this coronavirus pandemic, that I needed to just attend the funeral, be supportive of her, and then take myself home, and that's why I was able to keep this commitment. Because I truly believe that if it wasn't for the 12-step recovery process, I probably wouldn't have been able to even be there to even give her support. So I owe it to this program and to the people in this 12-step program. I'm gonna back up just a minute. I suffer from this disease called addiction. And I wanna share that within this process of my journey. My clean date is June 12th, 1986. For those who are on this Zoom meeting that are too lazy to do the math, I just celebrated on Zoom 34 years. And I heard Stephen share about a young man who has transitioned on by the name of Rico. He was my grand sponsor. He's been in my life for the duration of this process of the journey that I've been on. So, and I was there for him when he decided to when he transitioned on. And I owe a lot of my recovery to him. I love the theme. Finding the suit that fits you. And because of the 12-step recovery process, within that process, when I finally had that spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, these principles that we have in our lives, that we incorporate in our lives, I've been able to carry this message not only to people that are in recovery, but to people that are not in recovery. And that's what this program has afforded me, the knowledge and understanding that it's not just about being in these rooms. It's developing a relationship within this fellowship and being able to take what you have been blessed with and share it with people that are not in these rooms. So I can appreciate the transition that y'all are going through in the process, because you always, I've always loved to find people that come into this program of recovery, and I watched you and Bunny when y'all came in, and that's the blessing of being around here and staying here. They told me in the beginning, if your ass fall off, pick it up and take it to a meeting. And I've been blessed to not experience relapse in this process. And that's not to say I'm not relapse proof. All I know is that if I continue to do what I did when I got here, then I will have a chance to transition on the same way a lot of people that I know transitioned out of here clean. And that's my hope. That's my hope. When we're talking about experience, strength, and hope, that is my hope. But I want to kind of back up a minute, because my first mind-altering substance was at the age of 3, and I need to share that. Because see, at the age of 3, my oldest brother, and I'm a product of the 50s, and I need to share that also, so I'm telling my age, gave me a bottle of Children's one of their aspirins. And back in the 50s, they didn't have the child-proof tops like they do now. And when he gave me that bottle of Children's their aspirins, I remember them tasting like Sweet Tots. And I ate the whole bottle, and I ended up being in a coma for 3 days. And I can remember it just like it was yesterday when I went into that coma of consciousness, seeing psychedelic fish and seeing different bugs crawling on my mother. And I remember trying to pick these bugs off of my mother, and that's when she realized that something was going on with me. And she pulled back the covers, and she saw that the bottle of Children's aspirins had been, I had swallowed all these aspirins. So of course she did what a mother does. She took her fingers and stuck them down my throat, and I was able to regurgitate several of the aspirins back up. But I ended up going into this coma, and I ended up in the old Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. for 3 days and 3 nights. And I remember my mother telling me further down the road that the doctors told her that the only thing between me and death was the God of her understanding, and that if she had him in her life, that she needed to pray. And she told me that she prayed for 3 days and 3 nights, that death wouldn't come and take me. And of course, I'm here today, sitting here, a miracle, because of the power of prayer and the God of my understanding. My mother told me a long time ago that death was a friend of mine. And through this process, I've come to understand exactly what she was trying to tell me, because I'm here to tell you that through this journey that I've been on, active addiction, prior to finding the program of Narcotics Anonymous, Alcoholics Anonymous, Cocaine Anonymous, all the different 12-step programs that I've become accustomed to going to over these past 34 years. Because see, when I got here, there was only 2 programs that existed that I knew of at the time prior to Cocaine Anonymous. The Cocaine Anonymous started in 1982 out of Los Angeles, California. But we didn't actually start going to Cocaine Anonymous to further down the road. But we started in AA and NA. And that's where I built my foundation. I remember my first sponsor telling me that there were two important dates in my life. The date I was born, two important days in my life, the day I was born and the day I found out why I was born. So I can understand this journey that I've been over through this process. And when I looked at the thing, talking about finding the suit that fits you, well, I found a suit in active addiction, you know, and that suit was degradation, humiliation, shame, guilt, and several brushes up to death, institutions, psychiatric wards. And I wore that suit for 33 years. Well, 30 years, actually 30 years. And throughout that process, before I consciously picked up a drug or any mind-altering substance, and I want to make sure that if someone's on this Zoom meeting, that they understand that alcohol is the mother of all drugs. So please don't compare yourself out, because we just heard someone talk about, I believe it was Larry talked about Alcoholics Anonymous, and I really enjoyed his story. But through this transition, you know, my first mind-altering substance, besides one of their children's asthmas, was alcohol. You know, and from there it elevated to all the different other type of drugs. And I'm not here to glorify the disease of addiction, but I need to let that person know that might be on this call that addiction is not always about the drug. Addiction comes in all shapes and sizes. It affects you in all different types of ways, mentally, physically, spiritually. And for me, like I said, at the age of 13, when I first started using alcohol and finding myself using all the different other drugs, I had a problem way before I picked up. You know, I came out of an abusive family. You know, I'm a product, like I said, of the 50s and 60s. I had to watch my mother be physically and mentally abused, broken arms, broken jaw. My stepfather at the time was very abusive. He was one of the biggest number backers in the District of Columbia at the time. Way before numbers were even in fashion, as far as the lotto was concerned. They had numbers back in the 50s and 60s, all the way up into the 70s. And he had several after-hour places. He had a pool hall on 9th and U, right around the corner from the Howard Theater. And I remember hanging out, and I was addicted to the lifestyle. I was addicted to watching the hustlers, the pimps, watching the clothes that they wore, the cars that they drove, the El Caballeros, the Eldorados. And I became addicted at an early age to that lifestyle. And that was way before I had picked up any mind-altering substance by choice. And way before that, because I come out of this abusive family, mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually. I was abused in a lot of them areas. You know, I was sexually abused by my aunt at the age of 6. You know, and I carried that secret for a long time. And matter of fact, I carried it into adulthood because I didn't think it was nothing wrong with being sexually. I didn't look at it as being sexually abused by a female. But when I took that course in psychology, child psychology, I realized that was abuse. And I had to carry that for a long time. But it wasn't until I was able to take that course and was able to be in this process of this fellowship, I was able to free myself from the shame, from the guilt. And I was able to understand why I acted the way I acted and why I behaved the way I behaved. So through this process, through this journey, with that particular suit that I was wearing prior to coming into this fellowship, there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of degradation. There was a lot of humiliation. My father was an alcoholic, so I was genetically inclined to become an addict because of the genetic process. I learned that in this process of being in recovery. I remember picking him up from the different picking him up from the VA hospital after going through detox, and him having us drive him to one of his friends' house, him lying to us saying that he was going to just hang out with his friends, and we end up sitting outside for hours until we just got so sick and tired that we would just leave and pull off and leave him there. But that went on for years and years and years. I was the type of little boy that when I grew up, not only was I a mother's boy, I was a daddy's boy because I loved my father, and I would listen to anything that he would tell me. When he would say he was on his way, he'd be there in an hour. Well, I was the only child out of the 6 of us that would sit there and wait hour after hour till my mother would have to come and say, "Baby, he's not showing up." Every car door that would close, I would find myself looking out the window thinking that it was him, but he never showed up, and that's how it was for me growing up. I was the one that had to ride that little bus, so I thought something was wrong with me there. So at the early stages of wearing this suit in behavioral addiction, I knew I had a problem way before I picked up. But it wasn't until I came into the program of these 12-step programs that I realized that it wasn't the drug, it was the behavior that I had to address. I had to address that mental obsession, that anything that made Michael feel good, I became addicted to, whether it was money, whether it was prestige, whether it was social acceptability, whether it was sex. It didn't matter. If it made me feel good, I became addicted to it. Like they say, 1 is too many, 1,000 never enough. Well, that was Michael, and I learned that in this process. This journey that I've been over, my father committed suicide as a direct result of alcohol. So I know the power of addiction and what it can do and how it can destroy a family from the inside out. And I had to struggle with that for many years. I watched a brother come into recovery with me, had 18 years clean, and decided that he hadn't had enough, and ended up going back smoking crack and end up slipping into a coma. So I've witnessed my brother-in-law, who had married my sister, and my sister was pregnant at 6 months clean. He ended up ODing and never saw his twin daughters born. So I've seen the ugly side of addiction. And when they're talking about jails, institutions, and deaths, I have experienced that through this process. Whether it's through family members, whether it's through friends, I've seen that side of addiction. Thank God for this fellowship, this 12-step program. The 5 things that I've been doing over this process that has afforded me to continue to carry on within this journey. Because I heard Brother James say that I got more time in front of me than I do. I got more time behind me than I do in front of me. That's so true. You know, I got here vigorous age of 33. You know, and here I am, 67 now. So I understand. I don't think I got another 33 years. You know, if I got another 10, if I got another 20. It's through His grace and mercy. You know, I just had a COVID test done about 2 weeks ago because I had to get it done because I had to get a colonoscopy done. And for all men and women, I guess, when you get a certain age, please, whatever you do, please make sure that you get that test done because it attacks us from the colon and from the pancreas. And if you don't get that test done, you'll never know until it's too late. You know, and I've witnessed several people, not only in my family, but friends of the family that have passed from colon cancer and pancreatic cancer because they never had a colonoscopy. So please, whatever you do, but I say that to say this, that I when I had the test done for the coronavirus, and when I had it done, you're talking about playing mind games, wondering whether or not I had this virus. You know, come to find out, I was negative because I followed the directions of what people were saying. Stay in the house, don't go around people. If you got preconditions, and which I do, I have all of them. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I had a heart attack. I got high blood pressure. So these are all preconditions that I need to take a look at, and that's why I stay so diligent in how I live my life today when it comes down to that physical aspect of it. Because see, this disease will attack in all different areas of your life, you know, and a lot of us have seen that, you know, they've stayed around here long enough to see people transition on because whether they stay diligent and paying attention to their bodies. I've been one to pay attention to my body. The different signs that tell me whether or not I need to call my doctor. So that's what I've been able to do. When I was introduced to Cocaine Anonymous, was, like I said, was in the late 80s, you know, and when it talked about Cocaine Anonymous, because the type of disease that I had and because of the drug of choice that sent me to my bottom, within the last week of having to be taken off the street and going into a treatment center, I had OD 3 times in 1 week. You know, and if that wasn't enough to tell me that this disease was trying to kill me, then what was? You know, so within them 3 ODs in 1 week, I never forget, because my drug of choice was speedball. And I love heroin and I love cocaine. I love mixing both of them type of drugs, you know. And I remember my mother always told me, like I said in that share earlier, that death was a friend of mine. Them 3 ODs, I was by myself, you know, and within them 3 ODs, there was a 7-hour time frame that I was out, you know, and no one was around me, you know, and I would like to think that it was God of my understanding that blew the breath of life back into my body, that I'm still here, because but for His grace and mercy, there go I. You know, I could have been my brother-in-law. I could have been several other addicts, especially now with this fentanyl. You know, I'm gonna share this story. When I went to have that colonoscopy done, they told me there were 2 types of drugs that they were going to give me. You know, and for an addict like me, when they told me that one was a sedative and one was a drug that was of sedation, and it was fentanyl. But you know, a good addict like me, the first thing I thought was, damn, I wonder what that fentanyl is gonna feel like. You know, and now my doctor knows my recovery. She kind of smiled when she told me that, when she did the colonoscopy. And she said, well, I want you to count from 10 backwards. Well, she said 10, and the next thing, I said 10, and the next thing I know, she was telling me to wake up. The operation was over with. So that kind of lets me know how potent that fentanyl was. But my disease, I was upset, and this lets me know that this disease is still alive. It's not going nowhere. It's going to be with me for the rest of my life. It's just merely arrested. And I need to keep that up front. It is not going nowhere. You know, I was upset that I didn't get to feel what fentanyl felt like. And I kept saying that to myself. But I also had to look at, man, you know, what is it about this disease that is so baffling, that is so cunning and insidious, that would have you thinking that after, you know, you've been on that side of the fence and now you're on this side, why would you even want to think what it feels like? You know what it would do to you, you know? And so I know I'm blessed to be here and sit here and share my experience, my strength, and my hope that the addict that is still suffering, the addict that will die as a direct result of going over into these different areas, wanting to try that drug of choice, if it's heroin, if it's fentanyl, because that's what they're mixing with the cocaine and the heroin now, and that's what's killing a lot of those addicts that are still suffering. You know, but Cocaine Anonymous, you know, I want to share this, that I never forget my brother Spence, God bless his soul, that's transitioned on as a direct result of smoking crack cocaine. He introduced me to freebasing back in the 80s. And I never forget, he came to my house one night and he said, Mike, I want you to try something. And I said, well, what it is? I said, what is it? He says, freebase. And I said, well, what is freebase? And he showed me what it was. And I never forget, he said, all you need is $50, Mike. And I said, okay. You know, so that kind of let me know how insane I was. And I told him, don't you ever come back. Don't you ever come back with that. Because only thing I thought about, now this is insanity of it, only thing I thought about was all the different bags of dope that I could have bought with that $500 back in the 80s. And here I ended up spending that in one night in less than, I guess, a 2-hour span, because we kept taking 150 led to another 50. Well, and I'm sure a lot of people know what I'm talking about when it talks about, like I said, one is too many, 1,000 never enough. We never get enough, you know, and that's the scary part of addiction, you know. So thank God for Cocaine Anonymous, and the 12 steps that they govern themselves by. They're just like any other 12-step program. Like we said, AA, NA, CA, Debtors Anonymous, DA, GA, Gamblers Anonymous. So thank God for these 12-step programs. You know, it's just a blessing that a lot of us that are following these 12-step programs and have truly surrendered and practicing humility, because there's a difference from practicing humility and humiliation, you know, and I had to learn that in this process, you know. But thank God I can look back on the humility side of it. I can look back on from whence I've come and where I'm at now. You know, I have 3 lovely daughters that have never seen the ugly side of addiction. My oldest is 34. I told you I had 34 years clean. My youngest is 20. And she's the spitting image of me, and she scares me to death, because of what's out there now. Her experimenting, but thank God that the same God that's taking care of me is taking care of them. I have a 48-year-old son that we haven't spoken 3 years because he's still in active addiction. And when I shared about that call at 4:00 in the morning, he was the first person that came to mind. But my daughters tell me that they see him on Facebook, so I know he's still alive. But y'all told me I had to love him from a distance because he has the ability to push. He had the ability to push the guilt buttons. He had that ability, and no longer will I allow him to do that. So it's been a blessing. I could talk for hours about my gratitude, when it comes down to this program and what I owe. You're talking about the suit that I chose to wear now, and that's the suit of service, being of service to humanity, being there for the still suffering, whether they're in these rooms or whether they're not in these rooms. I'll make myself available because you never know how your higher power is going to use you. You never know. So that's why I allow his will, more him, less of me, more reliant than defiant. That's been this process. I would like to end in saying that, when I see you there, when I see other people that came behind me, and to see that the visions that you are doing, the visions that y'all are carrying out by way of prayer and meditation. My mother used to tell me a long time, there's 3 things you need to do if you ever want your dreams to come to fruition. You visualize it, you prioritize it, and then you actualize it. And that's what I see y'all doing. I see the action in the visualization that the Tree of Hope has in store for those who have these different pathways of recovery. So just keep doing what you're doing, and don't let nobody snatch your joy, because there's going to be people that's going to be out there trying to snatch your joy and try to tell you that it's not going to work. It's going to work. I got a lot out of this meeting, these several meetings that I was able to attend and hear the different speakers. So, I want to thank everybody for being here for me. And I'm gonna continue to be a shining hope of the different 12-step recovery programs in our area. And if you ever need me for anything, don't hesitate to call me. Like I said, I was glad to hear from you. I was glad to hear from Bunny. Me and Bunny's on Men's Rap in the morning, so I see him a lot. So I'm just blessed to be alive. So once again, my name is Michael. I'm in recovery. Thank you for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing, Mike. You had an hour, but
I thought I didn't talk the hour.
No, man, you talked a half an hour, but it's okay.
Oh,
I know you.
I can go. I can go on and go on, but
right.
If we wanna open it up, that's fine with me.
We can open it up. I was like, y'all old heads famous for being able to go, man. So I had to get.
I've learned how to be able to share what's in my heart. Because like I said, more him, less of me.
That's right. We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Does anybody have any they want to share about CA? They want to ask Mike a question. They want to ask about Cocaine Anonymous. Please feel free to unmute.
Hi, my name is Kimberly. I'm an addict. And I do apologize. I missed some of the meeting, but I was doing some things. But what I did hear, and it was right, it's right where I'm at. Some people are for a season and some people are for a reason, man. And you know, I just went through some things, you know, and they do suggest, you know, give yourself a year, give yourself a chance, you know, to number one, learn me, and number two, just sit still with self, you know, and it's okay to sit still with self, you know, today for me. And you know, right now I'm just everywhere. I had a horrific situation that I've been going through since Monday. It was a problem. I found it came to a solution, and it's okay. I'm gonna make it through that. I've made it through that, you know. But man, I'm just so grateful, man, today for my recovery, and for me to start being a part of and speak when I need to speak, or share when I need to share. Let me rephrase that: share when I need to share. You know, because when I first came in, and I've been around a couple of times, I never shared. So today, I'm learning to share when things are bothering me. Um, and I'm just so grateful, and I have so much gratitude, and I love this program called CA, because I did smoke crack. And it took me, you know, I thought I could handle it. You know, after 3 years, 4 years clean, I got this. And I was back down on the block where I usually am. And, you know, no different results, man. And it got worse every time I went back out, man. And I knew I could do it. You know, I knew I could just smoke some weed and balance that shit out. And I smoked the weed, the crack, and drink. And, you know, I just don't want to feel like that no more today. And I'm going to go through some roller coasters and storms in my life. But long as I don't use, I know I'll get to the other side. And with that, I'll keep coming back. Thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing. You know, I say like cocaine was my drug of choice, you know, and you know, it was introduced to me by my mom. Like, you know, our whole family got wiped out by the crack wave of the 80s. You know what I mean? It started out as freebasing, it ended up with crack, you know, and I know I remember like towards the end, it's like I couldn't stop even when I wanted to, right? I didn't want to feel no more, and that was what I did. I couldn't be trusted to even go to the store. I come back a week later, you know what I mean? And when I first came in, like I heard there was like one Cocaine Anonymous meeting that I knew about, right? And I feel like, but there were Narcotics Anonymous meetings everywhere. But I feel like if there had been more at that time, I'm coming up on 20 years, Mike, in December, you know what I mean? So it's been, I can't even believe it's been that long, but I feel like if there had been more Cocaine Anonymous meetings when I first came in, I probably would have went to more to that fellowship than I did Narcotics Anonymous, because I had there's always this stigma that follows you. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I would have been more comfortable probably in a Cocaine Anonymous meeting than I would have been in a Narcotics Anonymous meeting when I first started. But I went with what was available, and when I got there, thank God, you know, in Narcotics Anonymous, they welcomed me with open arms. But whenever we could get to one, we could find one. I know there's one at Rockville Metro. You know, we would try to support it. You know, and yeah. So I wish there were more Cocaine Anonymous meetings in our area, because I would definitely be willing to attend some of them. Do you have any virtual CA meetings that you go to, Mike? You're muted. You're muted.
Well, right now there is a website that you can go to online that will give you that information. And basically, all you have to do is type in Cocaine Anonymous, and it will bring up all the meetings in our metropolitan area.
Okay.
That's something that the student that the trio hosts. put together, put within the format so that that can be addressed, because I believe that that should be addressed
Okay.
at some point.
All right, I'm going to put the Cocaine Anonymous website up here where the meetings are. So everyone, if they want to look. Anybody else want to share about Cocaine Anonymous?
JB Addict.
Hey, JB.
JB,
Hey, cousin.
Good to see you, my brother, man.
always a pleasure.
You know, you shared a lot of good things, and I remember when I got back, when I went into the day I checked into that treatment program at Suburban Hospital, it was a CA meeting, and so I took a bunch of I was a firefighter, so I took a bunch of Ativan, and you know, because I was a little nervous, and that was the day I checked in, you know, and you know, that first meeting, the guy that was sharing at that meeting, what was his name? I ain't say his name, but he was a lawyer, you know, and he was sitting there talking about, you know, what he was doing in his office, and you know, at the time, Vance was still living. Vance was at the meeting. Vance from the news, the anchorman. And Harry T was up there. Harry Turner was still living, man. And, you know, that meet was packed, you know, and I just walking into that meeting, I was so excited because, like, you know, this was 1986. Everybody had like gold chains on. They were smelling good and looking good, you know, and everybody had that glow about them. And so I remember walking in there, like I said, I was high because I had taken all them pills. But I just walked in there and the atmosphere was so, you know, it was so exciting that I was like, yeah, I want this. I want to be a part of this. And that was one of the meetings I went to. And then I went down to the one Thursday night at 8818, you know, and then that meeting grew. That grew tremendously. And they ended up having to have a step meeting in the back. And then I remember at about 90 days, I went to New York. And, you know, I looked up the meetings in New York, and there was, you know, CA meetings in Midtown. You know, I went to, the first meeting I went to was, I think, down at St. Mark's Place. That was an NA meeting. But then I went, you know, as I went uptown towards the Bronx where I was staying, you know, I stopped in Midtown and went to CA meetings, and I saw the difference, you know, between CA and NA. And I was like, yeah, I love CA. You know, but it was like totally different, like in New York, because, you know, Midtown was like, you know, you could tell people had money. They had nice, you know, nice churches or whatever where they had the meetings at, and, you know, it was, you know, it was a big difference between the NA down in the village, you know, and then going up to Harlem, you know, so it wasn't very many CA meetings up in, I don't remember any up in Harlem or up in Westchester County and in the Bronx. But I remember when I got back into recovery a little over 17 years ago, you know, the first place I wanted to go was to a CA meet. and I looked up that meeting up at Suburban Hospital. I was like, I got to go up to Suburban Hospital. I went up there, wasn't nobody up there. Man, I called the hotline and I was like, ain't nobody up here. They was like, well, the literature's up there somewhere, you know. So we went around looking for, you know, the meeting. I don't remember if we found the literature, but it was like, man, this used to be the biggest meeting in, you know, in the Montgomery County area, you know, and it had just dropped off like that. And I don't know, I haven't been to a meeting since, but it's good to see you, man. You know, Narcotics Anonymous has, you know, has basically, you know, fulfilled everything I need, man. And, you know, although I would love to go to another CA meeting, I don't, you know, I guess I can go to the website and find out where it is and go and see if it's, you know, that same type atmosphere, but I don't know, man. But I love you, man. It's good to see you. You know, it was so beautiful, man, back in the days, man. But, you know, it helped. And CA helped a lot of people get clean, because like a whole lot of, that's when that cocaine crack epidemic was about to hit the area, and it was hitting the area. It had already hit New York. And so people was going to treatment, and they was coming out, and they was going in identifying with that CA, you know, and man, you know, it helped, it really, you know, built you know, a large recovery network in the Montgomery County area. I know for a fact. You know, it just drew a lot of people that were, you know, excited about, you know, the glow that we had, because, you know, it seemed like most people had methods of getting money, you know, coke addicts, you know, so we kind of felt like we were a step above, you know, the
Cut
dope
above.
fees. So, you know, but it's all good, man. We all in a good place right now, man. Thank you, man. It's good to see you, and I'm gonna keep coming. Thanks for letting me share.
My name Val.
Hey, Val.
Hey, Val.
Hey, best
Love you,
friend.
Val.
Hey, Val.
Where you go, Val?
What happened to Val? There's Lisa.
Okay, well, until she come back, I was just thinking about the thanks Mike for sharing. But I do remember I did my step work through CA, you know, down in 8818, and it really put me in touch with who I was, because at the end of our addiction, they didn't have many people that could sponsor you in Montgomery County, because they said you got to get somebody 5 years clean, and they were, you know, 2 and 3 years at that time. And when you went to the other fellowship, they were saying they could not sponsor us because they did not have, you know, that experience with drugs, and especially the way I came in 85 pounds. That crack was not playing with me, and so I understand that I needed to have somebody that I could relate to, that could really understand how that obsession and that compulsion was so strong that, you know, because the person that drank was, you know, they could drink, and I call it a silent killer with alcohol, but crack was real fast. It was a microwave killer, boy, I tell you. And I just really thank God for having that opportunity to have CA at that time. It was very special to be able to have somebody to know exactly how you felt, so that you wouldn't feel like you were so crazy all by yourself, and own it, but also give you hope to how that compulsion obsession can move you to chilling out, you know, and being cool, because it was just a crazy, crazy time in our lives. I mean, I smoked crack in the Howard Hospital. Oh, maybe I shouldn't even say that. I'm sorry, bathroom of pediatrics. So that's crazy, to be working in pediatrics and actually smoking crack in it. That means that drug took control of me, and I had no moral compass about where I was and did not care. And so I don't ever want to feel like that. I don't ever want to go back to that place in my life. I was so desperate. And I remember that day chasing around the hospital trying to get this thing together, and it turned out to be a hot mess. And then treating and trying to help kids and trying to, you know, act like I'm sober and got some sanity in myself. I was just as crazy as a June bug running around the hospital. I don't ever want to feel like that again. And I am just so grateful that God called me in and got myself together, because I tell you, I can't survive living in this world no more, not doing that stuff. And now what they got out here, I don't want to know. I don't care to know. But Mike, I really thank you for your message, you know, hope, your message of just being able to know that, you know, wherever you come from, there's hope that you can get somewhere, wherever that is for you, far greater than what we had before. And so with that, I thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for letting me share. Val was calling me, so maybe she's trying to get on.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just texted Val to see if she was trying to get back on. So, does anybody else want to share about CA? Jonathan, you got anything to say about the OCA meetings?
I'm sorry, I'm in here trying to hook up some shit. I got kale. I'm trying to saute some kale. I got cabbage. I'm getting ready to season this chicken and put it in the air fryer. And what else I do? I did something else. I can't even remember what it was.
Okay, Jonathan, if you're not gonna share that food, then stop saying it, please.
No, it's squash. That's what it was. Yellow squash. Anyway. Yeah, CA, man, Cocaine Anonymous. I'm so happy for them, because You know, that's how I got the treatment. You know, well, not the last time, but the very first time is because I was in my apartment with my wife and was smoking that coke, and for some reason everything went black. But I was conscious, but I couldn't see shit. And my heart started skipping around in my chest. I said, this is it. Like Fred Sanford, this the big one. And I fell down on the floor and I was on my back. When I laid on my back, it started beating faster. But when I turned over on my stomach, it slowed down. And when I was on my knees with my ass in the air, you know, trying to calm my heart down, scared to death. And every time I went to move, it started beating fast again. So I'm telling my wife, call 911, 911. She's sitting there looking like, you know, motherfucker. She was like fed the fuck up. She was like, you know, I think in her mind, she probably said, just go ahead and die, motherfucker. I'll call the coroner. You know, she called 911. The ambulance came and the paramedics was trying to turn me over. And every time they tried to move me, my heart started racing again. So I said, don't turn me over. Don't turn me over. I was scared, man. I thought I was going to die. You know, them motherfuckers strapped me down and took me outside on a nice sunny afternoon like today with my ass up in the air on the stretcher. And took me to Washington Adventist Hospital. But I'll never forget it. So embarrassing. But that wasn't the end, you know. As soon as I got in there, my heart calmed down. I AMA'd right out, you know, against medical advice. Out of there, you know, back to the races. But I went to Comac Clinic, outpatient clinic, and they sent me to a CA meeting. And as a matter of fact, I attended that meeting on Thursday on a regular basis, and that's where I ran into my sponsor today, a guy that I went to was in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade with in Paul Junior High. And I hadn't seen him since we left Paul Junior High. And I'm sitting in the CA meeting, and they was calling him. They said, okay, we're going to call on a spiritual jury. I was like, spiritual jury? I said, I know this guy, you know? And he said, man, they could smoke in meetings then, you know? They light his cigarette and shit. When he pulled out a cigarette, 5 people try to light it, that kind of stuff, you know? And I was like, man, I know this guy, you know? But he wasn't like that when I knew him. And it was in the CA meeting on Thursday. And like I think JB shared, that meeting grew. It was so large, we had like 3 meetings in there at one time, all CA. Step meeting, open discussion. I think somebody had an anniversary or something. It was all separate. That's how, you know, that's how we took over that place for a long time. Then the demographics changed. And when the demographics changed, and I think they changed the time, and then all of a sudden it changed. You know, so, and I'm not even sure if the, you know, how it went, when it moved or whatever happened. But fortunately, it was there at the critical point of the transition of my start to recovery. And that's where I got my start. So yeah, it's very significant in my road to recovery. So, and good to see you, Mike.
Good to be seen.
Yeah, you know, I told Tyrone, I was talking to Tyrone today. I said, yeah, man, Mike doing a meeting today. I tried to show him how to get on his phone when he didn't know how to do Zoom yet. But I might, he might, I think he got it now. But anyway, thanks for calling on me. Let me finish this. And nobody's invited to dinner.
That's just
Oh,
rude.
thanks.
Val is back in here. Mr. Rudeness, and was sharing his food.
Yes.
They don't never want to feed nobody, man. I'm in my feelings about that.
Right. Val,
That's okay. I'm eating marble loaf. It don't make me no difference.
Val. she's on here, but I don't. Oh, yeah, there she is.
She's unmuted.
Yeah.
She's driving, so
Say something, Val.
she lost it. She's gone again.
Okay.
She's trying to get in.
All right, guys. We'll give her a second. Does anyone else want to share about CA? Want to ask any questions about CA? I have one question. Is the step working process the same as it is like with NA, or is it different?
No, it's the same.
Okay.
It's definitely the same. It has the 12-step. It has the same 12-step concept as NA and AA, because that's basically where this foundation of the 12-step programs actually started from. So yes, and then they have other literature now. Metro, and you shared that earlier. They have a lot of. They still have a lot of meetings going on. Matter of fact, I spoke at their last anniversary.
Hot Rod got a lot to do with that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. So is there like a step working guide, or is it just you just do it like AA? You talk the steps.
No, they basically run it almost the same as when it comes down to this 12 steps of recovery. They run it the same way we run it here. We run it in Narcotics Anonymous.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. Okay, is there any other questions or comments about, thank you, Mike, for CA?
Yes, thank you, Mike. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
Always been a power example since we came, man. I'm glad you all were here and present when we got here, man, so we could see a vision of recovery, man, and a vision of hope. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I appreciate him allowing me to be that vehicle, because he truly saved my life, and giving me a second chance on living this process. No longer am I a menace. I'm a productive member of society, and that's what happens when you follow the path. And it says, rarely have we seen someone fail who thoroughly follows our path. You know, so y'all got a great thing going, man. And like I said, don't let nobody snatch your joy. Just continue on, continue building what y'all have, and it's gonna get stronger and stronger and bigger and bigger.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
We thought we were hoping there would be more people here today, but it's okay. Everyone who's supposed to be here are here.
Are here. That's right.
Right. That's right. You know, let's thank Mike for a great.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. And our
Thank you,
condolences
Mike.
to you. Our condolences
Yeah,
to
our
you.
condolences.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Amen.
Yes.